Hello, this is Dr. Cady, and welcome back to part 2 of New Concepts in Micronutrient Adequacy and Health Optimization. When we last met, we were talking about various minerals and vitamins and why you need them in your diet. But there is another problem in our diet, and that is lack of antioxidants and the resultant oxidative stress, particularly with what we're dealing with in today's society. So this is part 2, and we're going to focus today on the antioxidant level. So it's very interesting to note that oxidative stress is a key problem in the brain, which is one of the areas that I specialize in, but we can also think about where does it come from. So this is actually one of the key locations of oxidative stress in the body, and if you're alive and breathing and metabolizing, you too are generating these free radicals, here represented with the little gold stars and the blue boxes around them, in your electron transport chain, which takes place in the cristae, or the invaginated internal membranes of the mitochondria. The mitochondria are the little cellular power plants in your cells, and that is where you make energy. And if you look down at the bottom in the 2 red boxes, that's H2O2, or hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is a bleach. I actually remember using it to get blood out of my white lab coat when I was a medical student. And the reactions to get rid of those free reactive oxygen species can liberate hydrogen peroxide. And if you do not get rid of the hydrogen peroxide with catalase and glutathione peroxidase, those 2 little blue pill-looking things there, you have hydrogen peroxide and or other free radicals build up. And when that happens, you have premature aging and you damage the DNA in your mitochondria, which means some of them will not replicate, which means that the net total power plant capacity of your body goes down. This is why, as we age and we have mitochondrial damage and some of them fall off, we begin to lose energy. And it's another reason why the Age-Lock Vitality, which focuses specifically on mitochondrial aging and kind of repowering them, why that's such a good supplement. But anyway, this is where some of your free radicals come from in your oxidative stress. In addition to what you're making inside your own body, we are exposed to environmental toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, things that go on farm fields, things that get spewed into the atmosphere. And then in addition to that, we make some of our own toxins, yeast and bacteria in the gut, products of cellular metabolism, and then toxins are sometimes injected into our body in terms of vaccines, which have mercury, that's a little HB symbol there, and also put into our teeth in the form of dental amalgams, also which have mercury in them. And finally, we can increase the oxidative stress in our bodies just by being in a state of emotional stress, anxiety, tension, fear, and anger. I heard one recent presentation where a man was talking about scanning real estate agents in South Florida during the time of the real estate collapse there back in 2008. And he said everybody's score on the biophotonic scanner was dropping. And we'll talk about that shortly. So here are some of the consequences of oxidative stress. If you're looking at things from a medical perspective, you have depressed immune system, and when you have depressed immune system and lack of immune competence, then you can see DNA damage and cancer there as natural byproducts, and you also have increased inflammation and pain. And then in terms of what's manifested behaviorally and cognitive, you have kids, and even for that matter adults, whose behavior will deteriorate, where thinking is not clear, and where memory is impaired. And all of these assertions are supported in the peer-reviewed medical literature. Now, there are a couple of ways to check your antioxidant levels. the one that's behind this picture is actually called the oxidative stress profile from Genova Diagnostics. And this young person who had this lab, they basically were in a state of significant oxidative stress. Or you can have yourself scanned on the Pharmanex biophotonic scanner, which I am showing in this picture. That's my office manager, Claudia, to the right. Now, the biophotonic scanner did not start looking like it did in this picture. It started as an experimental project and was developed and patented by Gellerman and Ermakov using a principle called Raman spectroscopy. And the funding was from the big boys, National Institute of Health, the entire state of Utah, and Spectrotech, which is a laser company. And here's the original patent, came out in 2001. A method and apparatus are provided for the determination of levels of carotenoids and similar chemical compounds in biological tissues such as living skin. Now, the reason that carotenoids are so important is that they are the frontline antioxidant molecules and serve to a rough approximation as a proxy for the total antioxidant status of the body. So it's a very useful biomarker to have. This is the way the Raman spectroscopy actually works. Blue light is shot in to the skin and bounces off of the carotenoid molecules, which are in the top layer of the skin. And as that happens, some energy is absorbed, and as a result, the light wave, or the frequency that is reflected back, is actually longer. There is a light wave or a frequency shift from blue to green. So the scanner basically counts out the little blue photons that are shot out and counts out the little green photons that come back, and depending on that proportion, calculates the Raman shift. And that's your carotenoid score. Multiple studies have been done validating the fact that this is reliable technology. And here's one from Journal of American College of Nutrition that says Raman spectroscopy, RS, accurately measures total carotenoids in human skin with less intra-individual variability than measurement of serum carotenoids by high-performance liquid chromatography analysis. RS technology is a valid and reliable non-invasive method to rapidly assess carotenoid nutritional status in humans. Now, there's actually quite a bit of wisdom in this excerpted sentence. You'll notice that it says Raman spectroscopy measures the total carotenoids in human skin with less intra-individual variability than if you do it by HPLC analysis. And the reason is if you just get a random blood specimen and assess it for carotenoids, that can be affected by, for example, if you just had a nice big glass of carrot juice, then you're going to be looking really great in terms of your carotenoids. But when you do it with spectroscopy at the skin level, you're actually measuring a fairly consistent level of carotenoid exposure and dilution in the body. And so it's a very reproducible, very steady level. Here's another one, and I apologize for Fuse Meeting taking my formatting out of context, but this is by Ramirez, Velez, and colleagues in Endocrinology and Nutrition, April 2012. It's another study. Raman spectroscopy is a reliable method for non-invasive measurement, in this case it's of beta-carotene levels in skin, and it may be used as an important biomarker of antioxidant status in nutritional and health studies in humans. I thought that was profound. Here's another one more recently from June 2013, Archives of Biochemistry and Biophysics. The take-home is right there in the middle. The totality of the evidence supports the use of skin carotenoid status as an objective biomarker of fruits and vegetable intake. and skin carotenoids may effectively serve as an integrated biomarker of health. Then down at the bottom, this biomarker, and this is skin carotenoids by resonance Raman spectroscopic examination. This biomarker holds promise as both a health biomarker and an objective indicator of fruits and vegetables intake. So this is the real deal, and this is published in the peer-reviewed literature. So this is not some, scam rag from some random vitamin or device maker. This is the real deal. It's sustained, peer-reviewed. Now, here are a couple of interesting citations about what we can conclude from serum carotenoid levels, and this is specifically alpha-carotene, and it's 15,318 U.S. adults in this third National Health and Nutrition Examination follow-up study. The conclusion was that serum alpha-carotene, and keep in mind you can measure this, it's a carotenoid with a biophotonic scanner, serum alpha-carotene concentrations were inversely associated with risk of death from all causes, including cardiovascular disease, CVD, cancer, and all other causes. Now, they actually put all other causes twice in their abstract. I think they really wanted to make this very clear. So this is serum alpha-carotene. Now I'm going to show you one study for the guys and one study for the gals. So this is my favorite study for the guys. This is British Journal of Nutrition, the Epidemiology of Vascular Aging, or EVA, study. So let me break all of that gobbledygook down there for you very straightforwardly, and here's what the study had and showed. There were 1,389 older adults, men and women, studied for 9 years. And what they found was not good for guys. It was pretty much a wash for women in this study, but not so for guys. So if you were in the lowest quintile, which means the bottom 20% of the class, in terms of your carotenoid level, you had roughly a threefold risk of being dead from anything. That's all-cause mortality. That's strokes, heart attacks, cancer, traffic wrecks, bleeding out from a bloody nose, whatever. All-cause mortality 3 times higher in men if you were in the bottom fifth of carotenoids. And if you were in the bottom fifth, you also had almost double the risk of cancer. The conclusion was total plasma carotenoids level were independently associated with mortality risk in men. In other words, this is a significant biomarker for mortality risk, the risk of being dead if you were a guy. So, for my guy friends, I ask them, where would you want your level to be? Now, this is for the gals. This was a study published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, December 2012, entitled Circulating Carotenoids and Risk of Breast Cancer, Pooled Analysis of 8 Prospective Studies. So they looked at the world's published prospective data, and they used 80% of it. I'm not quite sure why they didn't use 100%. But in this 80%, 8 studies, there were 3,055 case subjects, that means women with breast cancer, and 3,956 match controls. This means women that did not have breast cancer but were age and sex matched, of course. And the conclusions to this study were, this comprehensive prospective analysis suggests women with higher circulating levels of alpha-carotene, beta-carotene, lutein and zeaxanthin, lycopene, and total carotenoids may be at reduced risk of breast cancer. When you look at the data, so that's the conclusion. Let me show you the data here. The blue line going from the top down to the bottom is showing the relative risk line of 1.0. And you'll notice that the relative risk of 1.0 is set at the lowest possible level of carotenoids for each one of those, alpha-carotene, beta-carotene, beta-cryptoxanthin, etc., all the way down to total carotenoids. The lowest group has a relative risk of 1.0 attached. And then you see in the little blue boxes at the bottom the 0.8 to 1.2 relative risk, and this is a 95% confidence interval. So I just highlighted the total carotenoids down at the bottom. You can look at the carotenoid of your choice, but the total carotenoids, and you look at the quintile cut points, and again, this is exactly like the EVA study. You've got the highest quintile and the lowest quintile. And you can see that the highest quintile, where your level is greater than or equal to 139, your relative risk is about 0.8. Or, another way of putting it is, it appears that if you are in the highest quintile of total carotenoids, your risk of getting breast cancer is about 20% less than if you were at the bottom quintile. So if you're a guy or a gal, I would take note of these studies. Here's one more on vitamin and mineral supplementation cancer, since we're talking about cancer, cardiovascular, and all-cause mortality. And this was the EPIC study published in European Journal of Nutrition back in 2011. The purpose was to evaluate basically multivitamin, multimineral supplementation with these conditions and all-cause mortality. They looked at 23,943 participants for 11 years, which is certainly a high-N study, or a study with lots of people in it. And they looked at baseline users of supplements and also new users of supplements. The results were, in purple, no multivitamin supplement had any significant effect, quote unquote, and that's what's published in the abstract. However, if you look and discriminate against the users of antioxidant supplements, and keep in mind that in this study, there's not necessarily a control for purity, excellence, or potency of the supplements that were being used. But when you look at antioxidant supplements, there was a significantly reduced risk of cancer, a hazards ratio, HR, of 0.52, and all-cause mortality of about 0.58. So when you look at this, it's your hazard risk of getting cancer about half if you're on antioxidant supplements. And also these folks discuss the sick user phenomenon, which is frequently a confound in research, where you have people that are feeling sick and under the weather that go to the vitamin store to get vitamins to start them because they are already sick. And so that skews the data in studies. But even though the sick user phenomenon was examined, the take-home message was you had a much less reduced risk of cancer if you were on the antioxidant supplements. So that's the reason why when I'm recommending a supplement, I like to think of a system, not just a vitamin supplement, not just a mineral supplement, but something that's well-rounded. So one of the ones that we recommend here at Cady Wellness Institute is LifePak Nano. This is kind of like the Lexus model. It has all your vitamins, all your minerals. It has phytonutrients, antioxidants, and it's got 4 grams of omega-3 fish oil, which includes 600 milligrams of EPA and 400 milligrams of DHA in 2 little packets that you take per day. So it's a very nice supplement package. And I'm going to wrap this